Do we have any additional questions for the participants of the debate here? Feel free to come up to the microphone.
Hi, my name is Brittany. I'm a college student at Cypress Community College. You kept on bringing up the fact that there would be 9,000 unemployed workers. Well, if they bring up the severance tax, that means kids can go to community colleges. What are you going to do about all the kids that are going to have to drop out and try to find jobs that aren't going to be able to find jobs because they have no degrees, no AA, no nothing to find a job?
My argument is that the legislature needs to make its spending priorities correct. They spend and spend and spend. They get the largest tax increase in California history, yet they still run a huge deficit. They spend more and more money, and they're not spending it on the education here. And I'd also make the point that driving people out of work is not a solution to anything. And there are, the problem with employment for students at Golden West College or Cypress College is going to get only worse as we increase the tax burden on people who employ people. Employers cannot, whenever you take money out of an employer's hands, or including small businesses who are the employers, vast majority of new jobs in California are created by small businesses. When you increase gasoline prices through the severance tax, when you increase other prices through the many tax increases, proposals that are on the ballot this year, they don't have money to hire someone. They have to make that choice, and they don't hire someone. And with each small business, maybe one person, then you take the thousands of small businesses to multiply it, and it's huge. We need to create an atmosphere that allows employers and businesses to grow, hire people, and not only will they improve the situation for the community as a whole, but they will also improve the situation for the financial condition of our state, because more people are working, paying taxes, and buying things and paying sales taxes, etc. That's our view.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody who gets laid off, they have work experience. A college student that's forced to drop out most likely does not have work experience. So how are they supposed to find a job? People who are laid off, they have an easier time finding a job because they, one, have work experience, two, they're most likely older, and three, they have more education than a college student that dropped out.
I can only say that situation exists in any kind of economy. And it is the battle for college students. I was a college student, and I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying that a growing, dynamic, expanding economy provides more opportunity for students and those looking for work than one beaten down by ever higher taxes. And that's, from my view of Californians against higher taxes, is the best way to supply jobs for people who are looking for work.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Could I respond to that question? Where's the moderator? May I respond to that or not?
I think we should farm.
Is that okay with you, sir? Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Scott McDonald. Very gracious of you, sir. I'd like to just say that, first of all, the California budget 5 years ago was $100 billion a year. It's been cut now to $87 billion. It's had a 15% or 14% cutback. When you cut that kind of money out, you're cutting to the bone. You can't just keep cutting. It is true that we're spending way too much on prisons, on building them and privatizing them, and housing prisoners who are nonviolent offenders. We can take some of that money back and put it into schools, but it's not enough money. We've got to have the severance tax. And you mentioned about companies laying people off because they're getting taxed. That's not the reason that so many people are laid off from the oil industry in the last few years. The reason the oil industry laid off hundreds, if not thousands of people in the last 10 years or so, is because they found new ways to drill for oil, which did not require labor, human labor. It's new technologies which cause people to become unemployed, and I think the society, the government should help them retrain through colleges. When you are laid off, let's get them back into colleges to retrain for other professions other than working in the oil fields. That's what we should be doing in a civilized society, and this is a great country. America believed in that under President Roosevelt, President Johnson, President Kennedy, and now President Obama is trying to do that, and yet we keep on saying, no new taxes on anyone, even the multimillionaires, the billionaire oil companies. How can we be so self-centered when we should be sharing some of this wealth with all of our young people, especially who are trying to get started in the world? My question. Thank you.
First, I would say, when you increase taxes, it doesn't consequentially reduce jobs. That's on the employer. They have a huge, fat, juicy profit margin, and that's on them. If they're going to destroy jobs, that doesn't solve anything, you're right. And that's on them, to me. That's my personal conviction. Now, my question is, how do you justify blaming the aftershock of the financial meltdown on government spending and taxes?
80% of the jobs in California are created by small businesses. They don't have big, fat profits. They're your local dry cleaners, they're your local widget maker, they're your local mom and pop grocery store on the corner. They don't have a huge profit margin. And when you raise taxes on them, it hurts. And they have to make decisions about what they're going to do to meet the cost of those taxes. So yes, it does have an impact on those small businesses, and it has an impact on large employers, because you cannot run a business and ignore a 15% increase in your costs and just pretend that it's not there. You won't be in business for very long. You have to make cuts. And if this law says you can't pass that cost onto the consumer, then there's only a few places you can make up that cost. And that's from firing Joe Blow, because you need to save money. You need to make money. If you don't make money, you don't have a business. And that is the way it is. And unfortunately, that doesn't seem to catch. I mean, people can't hire anybody if they're losing money. Their doors are not open anymore.
But we're not talking about them losing money.
We are, if we're going to keep raising taxes on them. I mean, this concept, I don't know where it comes from in the midst of the worst economy that any of us will ever see in our entire life. The businesses are rolling in the dough. Small businesses on the corner, they got more money they can spend, and they can put up with higher taxes, and they can still hire people, and it's just because they're selfish, fat, profit-making pigs. I'm sorry, I don't agree with it, and I don't think it's true, and unfortunately, I think this concept is what hurts the economy as a whole. Now, I missed the second part of your question. I'm sorry.
How do you justify blaming the financial meltdown and the aftershock of that on government spending and taxes?
I didn't ever say that the financial meltdown was caused by spending or taxes in California, but I do know that our reaction to it, our timid, slow, pathetic recovery that barely exists and leaves us with the second highest unemployment rate in the country is a product of the fact that we drive businesses out of here. Either we drive them out because they can't stand the tax burden, or they just don't hire people because they can't stand the tax burden. What can they do? I believe that is a cause to our slow recovery in California.
Well, I was just referring to when you said look to Europe, because they spent themselves into a hole or something, and I think that's I think that's wrong, because I think that the financial meltdown is responsible for a lot of that economic instability. I don't see how you turn that into blaming it on the government.
Well, I know that the British are talking about cuts in huge social programs that in the United States we would be stunned to know, stunned to even hear the benefits of the social programs in Europe that are dragging down the European economy and are creating this kind of crisis. And cuts have to be made according to the economists in Europe. I'm not the one telling them to do that. And it's when these cuts are made that people riots are happening, etc., because they're used to a certain level of government largesse that can't be maintained. And so it's either you go bankrupt, which is horrible, or you make the cuts, which of course hurts people, but maybe you should never gotten to that point in the first place. Anyway, it's an ugly situation, and I'm not saying that severance tax is going to make California Greece. I'm not saying that. But at some point, we have to take responsibility for what we're voting for. We keep voting for all these different things. One of the things we keep hearing all the time is that the worst thing we can do with these initiatives is pigeonhole where the money goes. We have done it over and over and over again, and the ability to budget rationally is gone. The legislature has almost no power over it. And here again is an initiative telling us where they're going to spend the money and how they're going to spend it. Now, so anyway, that's not the biggest argument I've had to make against it, but it seems to come up with our
Thank you.
I think.
I'm curious, we're talking about oil here, and an extraction fee that by law won't be passed on to the end user. And you keep talking about small businesses and the guy on the corner that's not rolling in money. Again, I'm no expert on this, but my understanding is that the companies that come to mind when I think oil are companies like Exxon, and I don't think they paid any taxes last year, and I think they had huge profits. And I don't think they're the end users, so I think that it would be passed on to them. Am I correct or not?
Exxon doesn't drill a lot of oil in California.
But wouldn't the
They would not be
if it's a local extractor and they have to either fire their entire staff and close the well or pass the fee on to Exxon, wouldn't that help?
It wouldn't be passed on to the consumer and the pump.
Right.
But it could be passed on to some of the bigger refiners.
Thank you very much.
It's well,
And they can absorb the profits.
if you got 20, like these reviews, you got 20 wells. I'm Mr. Middle. I just happen to have got 20 oil wells in Kern County. That's what I am. I'm not Exxon. I'm Joe, middle-sized oil person. And this thing comes along. A lot of these wells bring up oil that's not that good. So they're not on the margin anyway. So this 15% makes them losers. So I close those wells. That's what I'm saying. 5 of them. I know about a business. I close 5 of the wells. I lay out the people who extract the wells. They don't go to the grocery store. They don't go to the dry cleaners, and some people who are hurt. We need, when you hire people, when the American economy is starting to turn around, and what's going to happen is more people work, more people spend money, then more people hire. It's a good thing. You get the ball rolling the other direction. We've been going the wrong direction for a long time. California not doing that because we just can't seem to get out of this hole. And I believe the taxes are a big reason.
Why would they lay people off, even the medium-sized companies? Because they've got now tax incentives for oil drilling and new technologies coming in to help them get the oil out at less cost. Do you
have any idea what it costs to use those technologies? It's massive amounts.
They get tax write-offs for it. You know that.
This is so beyond the capability of Mr. I own 20 wells. It has absolutely no reality.
Even the small ones get tax write-offs from the federal government.
This is insane. It's insane to say that these people are getting tax write-offs. They have old oil wells that drill heavy crude oil that's barely sellable. And then you add this on, it doesn't cancel out, so they stop doing it.
Perhaps Exxon will buy them up for a good price and come in and bring new equipment. Now here's the question, also contrast this. What about these